Building the Future, Green Building in the New Millennium, brought to you by Sustainable Homes of the Future. Our natural world is in crisis. We need solutions now. Join the conversation today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us at Building the Future, Green Building in the New Millennium, the podcast where we explore new ideas and innovations in the built environment for the future of people, profit, and planet. And my name is Ian Sollenberger. I'm your host, and today I am very excited to be joined by two bigwigs in the HabitatLA, that's Habitat for Humanity LA, the president and CEO, Erin Rank, and Darrell Simien, who is the Senior Vice President of Community Development at Habitat Greater Los Angeles. Thank you both for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So I have a little personal story, if you don't mind me starting off. The first time I had heard about Habitat for Humanity as an organization was my grandfather after he retired, and he was not a builder, but he had built a couple homes for his family over the years. And when he retired, he got involved with volunteering for Habitat and building homes, and loved it and spoke so well of the organization and all the people that were being helped. This was in sort of the central Ohio area. And so, you know, I've always wanted to get involved in some way. So I'm glad that this little opportunity for a partnership came up, and excited to learn more about your organization. Erin, why don't you kick us off by maybe starting, talking about the difference between Habitat International and then HabitatLA specifically, organization you guys work for, and then also maybe what your mission statement is and how sustainability does or does not play a role, I assume it does, in your business and your organizational model.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Ian, for having us. Habitat for Humanity International is, we build in 70 countries around the world. So we are tackling the housing landscape in many diverse communities. And here in the US, we cover most of the United States. Almost every community is served by a Habitat for Humanity affiliate, where a local board will select families and raise the funds to build our homes and recruit volunteers like your grandfather to come out and actually swing a hammer. And so our vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And our goal is to bring people together from all walks of life in our communities to build those homes, to build communities, and to build hope within the people who will live in those homes.
That's awesome. And how, you definitely spoke to sustainability on sort of a societal, I guess, level, as far as homes for everyone. And with the push or the homeless problem that we're experiencing now, where does Habitat kind of come in there? Are you working with formerly homeless folks? Or are you mostly working with folks that are sort of in a low to moderate income?
It's a great question. And I think that sustainability for us applies not only to the homes, but to the home buyers and the families that we serve. And so we want to create homes that are sustainable and have a green footprint. And we also want to build families who are sustainable. And to us, that means self-sufficient. So through home ownership, we are able to give families who are earning less than medium income the opportunity to build equity, to have an asset that they can then use to start a business or send their kids to college or go to college themselves. And so our goal is that by the time our families purchase their home, they're well on their way to being self-sufficient. And our families are, like I said, lower income families, they're earning about the same wage as a family who may qualify for rental assistance. However, in other programs, typically families are allowed to live in a unit as long as their income doesn't go up. Whereas in our program, we would love for families, to grow their income from the point that they buy the home on into the future. So we're looking to build the sustainability of our families, our communities, and our homes all at the same time.
That's fantastic. Um, and how do you choose those families?
Mhm.
How does the process work? Just in short.
Sure. As soon as we have a parcel of land where we know we're going to build some habitat homes, we canvass the local community through door knocking and through community events where we hold information sessions. We're doing a lot of that online now. And we tell people about the habitat model. And so we're working with families whose household income for a family of four would be, say, $85,000 or less each year for the total household. Um, Typically, they have some money set aside, but they don't have enough for a down payment in the traditional market. And I think the most unique factor is that we engage the family in the construction of the home. And so families have to be willing to contribute sweat equity to help build their homes and their neighbors' homes. And then at the end of the process, they become a homeowner and they make affordable mortgage payments. We set it at affordable level, affordable mortgage payments back to Habitat, and we recycle those funds to build future Habitat homes.
That's great. So it truly is a circular, an insular, but circular economy
They pay it
sort of
forward.
approach. Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, and I'm interested. How did you've been with Habitat for quite some time now, since looks like 1998. You got your master's in counseling psychology and worked for the Office of Education in Los Angeles County for a little while. Tell me about that transition and kind of what drew you to Habitat to begin with. And
Well, I had gone on a trip with my church rebuild a church there in the Philippines.
hmm,
So I went on an overseas trip first and really saw the effect of. First, we tried to build it ourselves with a small little team of 6 people, and we struggled. And then, over the weeks that we were there, we invited the local community members to help us out, and I saw how much more effective it was to be working with the community instead of for the community.
hmm,
And so I decided I would volunteer with Habitat. And when I came back, I had been working on a youth leadership program with the County Office of Education. So I brought some of my high school kids out to a Habitat site and we volunteered. And that was around 1995. And I just fell in love with the organization. The first day we were there, they handed the keys over to a family and I just got hooked. And I also felt really empowered because, like your grandfather, I grew up thinking I'd be a totally different career, right? I was planning to
hmm,
be a veterinarian, and yet when I came out and swung a hammer and started doing some of the tasks on the house, it felt very empowering. So I kept coming back, and then it was a very small operation at the time. I think they were on house number 7, and I got more involved as a volunteer, and then finally they said, we want to hire our first paid staff person. Would you throw your hat in the ring? And so I did, and then I made that leap from education into housing, and have been doing this ever since.
housing, jobs, and education. You got two out of the three there. Well, and you guys employ. It's worth mentioning. You guys employ, isn't it like almost 180, almost 200 folks just within the Habitat LA?
140 and 150 right now.
150. Nice.
Mhm.
That's incredible. That's one of the largest habitat organizations certainly in the country, I believe, right?
It is one of the largest, and this year we'll actually build our 1007th home. So my 1000th home will be this year.
That's awesome.
And also, Ian, we also bring in about 10,000 volunteers a year as well. So we have our staff, but we engage over 10,000 people a year with our different programs and our projects. So it's we're impressive. I'm impressed by us.
I am as well. And yeah, I mean, you are truly a community organization, which is a great sort of segue into, we were just talking before we hopped on here, Darrell, about your background in community development. You worked for a couple for-profit developers, I believe, mixed in there along the way, but tell us how you got involved with Habitat LA.
Well, I went to school for film. So I studied to become a filmmaker.
Makes sense.
And, and during my studies, I got a job with the community development department for City of Long Beach. And during my time there, I discovered that the processes that I was learning making a film were very similar to making a affordable housing development, like very, very similar process. And so as I graduated and I matured, I kept having that call back into community development. Like I felt a bigger calling for that than the film. And so, I was just really, really, it made me really satisfied to be able to see the impact that I was having on a community that needed it, and also on two families that needed it.
Yeah.
And so during my time, when I first started in community development, I met and I was introduced to Habitat for Humanity, and I actually met Erin Rank, and she was the president and CEO of Habitat Long Beach at that time. And we worked together, I on the city side, her on the Habitat side, to do a couple of projects. And they're always phenomenal projects. They're always the best projects because there's so much community involved in it, and just to see the impact that it had on the families really was galvanizing. And so then a couple of years went by, I went private. I was doing master planned communities in Texas and California. But never had that satisfaction that I did with when I was doing affordable housing, especially with my Habitat projects. So about 11 years ago, when opportunity came about that I can join the Habitat team, and I jumped at the chance, and 11 years later, my heart is filled with so many stories of the impact that we've had on communities, but especially the families, and to see first generation college students, to see our buyers go back to school and get their degrees as adults, and just to see also the impact that our homes have had on entire communities has been life-changing for me. So
would you be able to share one particular story, or one particular client that really stands out to you, that kind of on those days where you're having maybe trouble getting out of bed or something like that, you're like, yeah, I remember John and his home, and his family or whatever?
Well, there's one of my first projects was this project in Linwood, and it's not just one person, it was all the kids. And so all the children that came out, they were just, to see them so amazed by the construction process. So they would come out, and visit the sites themselves. And I was on the site all the time. And so I fell in love with them all. And so what happened is, to the dismay of my boss at the time, is I promised to paint every kid's room a different color. And so I would go through all the houses, and every kid who had a room was like, all right, what color do you want? And I had a whole list of colors. And so, it did extend the building maybe maybe a week per project, but for them to run into their rooms and just to see it done, and them to have, and typically this is always, majority of our families, this is their first room they've ever had as a kid. And for them to have that, there's so many tears, and I think they were so young, they didn't understand their emotions. And so, you just see just a full gamut of emotions from kids just staring in space and unable to talk, to just kids just crying little hearts out, or the kids blocking the doors, you can't come in. This is my room. Yeah. This is my space. And so that really hit home for me, especially since I have young children as well. So that's awesome.
That's incredible. I have a 7-month-old now, and it's a whole new world. It really is. When when you just have that connection, you really are thinking about them instead of yourself for the first time in your life. And that's a good segue, I suppose, into sort of maybe sustainability and as it applies to green building and greening construction a little bit. I think that's a field you like to speak to, Darrell. I know you guys have, a green sheet of, some of your basically standard practices, which I just have to say is very impressive, because if you go around Los Angeles and you talk to the quote unquote green developers or green construction companies out there, their green sheet is nothing, it's like maybe a rain barrel and maybe some non-toxic paint or something like that. So the fact that you guys are using, I don't want to give it all away here, but denim insulation, and you're thinking about things to some degree like passive design, even in the design process is, I mean, that's steps ahead of a lot of the folks out there. So you want to talk a little bit about maybe how that came about, what you guys have tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked, as far as green building and sustainable construction goes?
I think Erin mentioned it. So since 2000, we have been building basically homes to LEED standard or above. We got the first Habitat. We had 30 homes, the first 30 homes to be Habitat LEED certified in 2008. And so for us, it's kind of always been in our DNA. We recognize that our homes have to last much longer than a typical home. So our homes don't change over that often. They're generational. So
Yeah.
our homes pass from generation to generation. Our homes hardly ever sell. And so, we recognize that a sustainable home also is a more cost-efficient home to our families. They save money on their energy costs. And in turn, they have more resources to put towards other parts of their lives, not just housing. And so that's been really important. Also, as Erin mentioned, we are always in the forefront of technology. And so, we were one of the first to integrate tankless water heaters. And, we have been putting we've been building solar ready homes since 2010. And so, we have been kind of on the forefront of what is actually happening now. And so for us to continue it is just, part of our nature. We're lucky, we're blessed. We have an in-house design team, and our in-house design team is phenomenal. And so, we have been tinkering with our designs for years, just to because we'll build it and then we actually have a post-mortem on the construction to see, okay, what has happened? How can we make it better? And, also integrate what's happening in the field of energy efficiencies and sustainability. So how can we integrate this new technology into our builds? And so you've just seen, like you mentioned, we have we're solar ready. We have low flow plumbing fixtures. We have high efficiency HVAC systems. We use recycled materials, the recycled denim. Who would have known there's so many jeans were made and produced that could produce so much insulation for us? So we use recycled denim for insulation.
Yeah. And being in LA, I mean, you have that available. The fashion
Yes.
district is just up the way. So that's a smart use of something that's local as well.
Yeah, and then also we have our drought-tolerant landscaping. We really look at our design and we analyze the sites before we get going, and we see how can we retain the water better with our flow chart. How can we place windows and doors so we have cross ventilation, so there's not so much, the air conditioning and the HVAC system is not taxed as much, so it could cool efficiently. Yeah. And we even look at our roof lines to say, okay, where's the sun so that we can best capture solar with our solar panels with our roof lines. So we really dig into it to make sure that we are providing the most energy efficient and sustainable house that we can.
And Erin, if you don't, I was going to actually throw it to you for a second. So where did the impetus for that start? Was it just for that desire to provide, healthier and more cost efficient homes for the client or for the buyer?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, no pun intended. But yeah. I think that, it is a pocketbook issue for our families. So in addition to it being, climate friendly, it's also saving money. Our families are saving money, and that means more money that they can have to put food on the table. So just building on what Darrell said, we were first in partnership with the U.S. Green Building Council and several other environmental groups 22 years ago, back in 2000, we were building a 26 home neighborhood in Wilmington called Green Trails. And we looked at ways to use less lumber. We looked at ways to, recycle water for the HVAC system. And those homes were also, we used durable material for the roof that didn't have, had a lifetime warranty.
Hmm.
And so we were really looking at ways. We actually put the studs on, instead of every 18 inches, they were 24 inches apart, using larger lumber, so we could reduce the amount of lumber we were using in the homes. And then carry forward, we were, when Lead for Homes came out, we were some of the first affordable homes to use Lead for Homes in the city of Los Angeles. And in '07, we added solar to the roofs of our homes. And from that point on, we had a commitment that every new home we built would meet Lead for Homes designations until the codes were updated. And then we piloted the first net zero affordable homes in the city of Los Angeles. Darrell and his team built some net zero homes in partnership with the city. And then we partnered with SciArc in 2016 to build another affordable, sustainable housing model. And then most recently, we've been piloting an ADU program, which
Very
adds
cool.
more housing to the city of Los Angeles. So we've sort of always been the affordable version of all the green technology for in-home use.
That's great. That makes me think, you're talking about the 24 inches on center. I mean, not only does that cut down on the lumber, but then also you have less what they call thermal bridging. So you're not losing as much potential air for your insulation. You have a tighter envelope. I mean, what's I think is so cool about what we talk on the podcast about integrative design, and it all starts in the design phase, because you can find ways to reduce costs and use better materials. I mean, you can build a net zero home for less than the cost of a traditional stick built home. And there's such, I think, a misnomer out there, or a misunderstanding out there, that because something is green, or because it's healthy, or because it's eco-friendly, that therefore it's going to cost twice as much. And I mean, you guys are a perfect example of the fact that even 12, 15 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the case, because you were doing it in an intelligent way. If all you're trying to do is take your normal process and then just add healthy products into that process, then yes, it will cost more. But if you're thinking about it on the front end and doing some of those passive design strategies that you talked about, Darrell, then you really can actually achieve a cost savings with this stuff. So it speaks to that whole people, profit, planet USGBC definition of what sustainability is, really. I don't know if you guys have anything to add. What is, Darrell, what is sort of like something that you've seen in the last 5 years or so that has come online, as far as an efficient technology, or something that has really been a game changer for you guys when it comes to the green construction or the sustainability piece?
What was really the big thing is, when this all came out, everything was super expensive. And luckily we had partnerships that allowed us to get some of this equipment at cost or free. So
Nice.
like I mentioned, tankless water heaters earlier. Tankless water heaters are now, they're not only, they're now the norm, not the exception. When we were doing it, it was the exception. And also now what's great is, all the energy companies have these amazing rebates and refund programs to everyone across the board, so you can in effect get this stuff for free. All you have to do is apply for it. And so I think, now I think it's a big push to be able to get everything. If you have an existing home, retrofit it, and if you have a new home, start using these new technologies. And so that's one. Also, like the change in landscape, and the landscape technologies have really changed. Us retaining water on site has been really big. Obviously, we're not going to the storm drains no more, or as much as we were. So that's obviously great for the environment. And also that water is recycled and used to feed the landscape itself. And so, and then the HVAC systems is totally different than it used to be. The houses are so much more tighter. We're starting to integrate more mini split systems. So that is it's used overseas everywhere, but it's really
Japan kind of decided at the same time that we decided to go all in with oil back in the 70s, early 80s. Japan decided, hey, we're going to do all electric, and now their units are 3-4 times more efficient than the ones that we're using here in the US. So back to the water recycling for a second. Are you doing gray water systems, or are you just, so talk a little bit about that.
Oh, it depends on the size of the project. So on a single family lot, we'll do a gray water system where we are taking the water and then it recycles back and does the yard.
Mm-hmm.
Also on our bigger projects, we use a Coltech system. And so we'll use that, and the same thing, the Coltech system, the rainwater and stormwater recharges the Coltech, and then it slowly goes back into the earth. It does not go into the storm drains. And so, you know, we actually are a little bit more aggressive than what cities require us to be, just because, you know, we want to make sure that if there's 100-year rain, like, it's not going to be a failure on our sites. You know, we're going to make sure that, because again, like I said, our homes have to last, you know, I want to say forever. And so we want to make sure that we are at the forefront of any design changes that might come in the future.
Nice. That's fantastic. And I'm assuming, you know, this question's for both of you. I don't know if you want to talk to it, Erin, because you've been with the organization a little bit longer, but I'm assuming, you know, one of the big things that's changed over the last 20 years is that the cost of some of these technologies and materials and things, you know, the green materials that you can apply has come down quite a bit. You Darrell just spoke about the rebates and some of the tax programs and things, but just the cost overall, you know, as these products are scaling, has come down. Is that helped you guys out as well with the implementation of this?
I think in most cases it has come down. As Darrell said, the benefit of being on the forefront is oftentimes we can test the materials and have them donated. But on a scale level, we have seen as things have become more integrated into new home design, or even into retroactively into existing homes, the cost has come down.
And you guys have programs, not just for new homes, but you have renovation programs and weatherization programs through Habitat as well. Is that correct?
That's right. We help over 100 families a year with home repairs, and we are doing a major 300 home energy retrofit program in the city of Los Angeles over the next 3 years. And so we are going in and replacing windows and water heaters, and remind, what else, Darrell?
Insulation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then doors. We're actually like doing a thermal check of the house. And so what's great is with this program is not only are we, you know, building new homes that are sustainable, but we're retrofitting the existing housing stock into becoming sustainable.
You know, that's the number one way. If you look up, you know, solutions for sustainability, it's using existing homes instead of building so many new ones. You know, that's sort of a low hanging fruit situation there. And also, you know, one of the biggest problems in LA, and I'm sure in other markets as well, is that you have these folks that have been in these homes that are generational homes. And then you've got these cash buyers who show up at the door, and, you know, at a certain point, the price, you know, it's hard. It's hard for the 1 or 3 or 5 holdouts in the neighborhood when everybody else is taking that money and going somewhere else. And you have this whole new set of people moving in and kind of taking over the neighborhood, doing some of those retrofits and helping people with the costs of their home. You know, as those property taxes start to go up, that's the biggest reason that people can't stay in their homes, because of speculative development. And so being able to help them maybe save, you know, $300 or $400 over the course of a year could help keep them in their home for another 4 or 5 years. And that's something that never really even occurred to me, you know, until recently, when I was having a conversation with somebody. And that is, you know, I don't live in my parents' home, so I'm a renter. You know, I'm somebody who would love to own a home at some point, but you know, there are a lot of folks that own homes and then get pushed out. And so I just kudos to that, and working on those retrofit programs as well.
You're right. A lot of the families that we serve are those who have owned their home for a long period of time, and now, for either physical or financial reasons, can't afford to maintain their homes. And they would like to stay in their homes and age in place, and not have to move out So by us coming in and ensuring that the critical health factors and safety factors inside the home are addressed, they're able to stay in their home and age in place. It's more affordable for them in the long term, and it's what they prefer.
Different. What's the biggest difference in your business model that perhaps could actually be applied to a traditional for-profit business model that could benefit both the company and also the folks living in the home ultimately, and the neighborhoods as well?
I can start out and Darrell can jump in. I think, our model differs in several ways. Um, it differs by the way we finance our projects, the way we build them, and the way we sell them. And, while we adhere to all the same building codes as every other developer, and we usually build far beyond what's required, the standards required, we finance our developments using donations from private individuals and groups. As opposed to maybe through tax credits and things like that. So we're privately financed and to a significant degree. City governments often assist us with land or some help offset some of the permitting costs, but predominantly for everything from the foundation of the home to the finish is funded through private donations and private contributions. Also, as Darrell mentioned, during construction, we do use volunteer labor, as you mentioned too, with your grandfather. So we pair skilled tradespeople with volunteers from the community and the homeowners themselves to help build their homes. So I don't think that the traditional construction industry will probably adopt that practice. But I do think that the one thing they could do is, as I mentioned, with the sale of the home, we assist the buyers with a tiered loan structure so that it is more affordable for them. We have down payment assistance programs, and we are deferring a portion of the mortgage that's due at the end of a period of time rather than right up front. So their mortgage payment never exceeds 33% of their gross monthly income at the time they purchase the home.
That's great. I want to jump in there because I actually do think that volunteer model could gain some ground in a for-profit space, because we've talked about education and housing, right? Jobs is the other one, and one of the things the construction industry needs sorely is qualified folks. And I wonder if maybe in the for-profit space that maybe it wouldn't be volunteer, but it'd be sort of an apprenticeship program where something maybe government funded, maybe not, I don't know, but like through a jobs program where if you as a developer building a huge commercial development, you're required to have 40% of the folks who work for you be in that local area, and maybe there aren't enough people to fill those slots. Well, then do some sort of apprenticeship program. It brings down your cost as the developer. Maybe an argument could be made it slows down the process because those people aren't, but I don't think so. I think, after day 6 or whatever, that person's, going to be just as good as the guy next to him, and it's just about sort of shepherding those people along a little bit and providing really good jobs. So I think some sort of hybridization of that volunteer model actually could work in the for-profit space. What do you think, Darrell?
I think you're definitely on the right path. So for us, Habitat, we actually partner with a Job Corps or a youth build, and
Nice.
we do provide those opportunities for folks to gain skills that they would not have. So, and also be able to find entry into the construction arena, be it become a solar panel installer, become an electrician, so we do partner with those programs to help us build our homes. And so, for us, what you're saying is already integrated into what we do.
Yeah.
And it's also, how we kind of see our own team. We have team members that come in at the bottom and they're not as skilled. And during the time of construction and learning on the job, they move up into higher skilled positions. And so it's definitely an arena where you can learn and grow professionally, is construction for sure.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear that you're using those programs already. Because that's what we need, right? We need better jobs so that people can afford homes.
Well, just one other thing I wanted to kind of build upon is for what's the difference between Habitat and a typical developer is when Habitat does a development, we don't lead it. So our Habitat buyers are part of our Habitat family. And so, until death do us part. and it's great because, you know, when we're able to see our older partner families come back and share their stories and where they have gone. And then, you know, we're really great in archiving all of our builds. So to see the pictures of them and the articles of them back when we built them to now, it really gives you goosebumps to see, like, wow, we've had an impact on that family, and we were doing this 30 years ago. And so, you know, it's really a neat aspect of what Habitat does. And so, you know, I'm not going to talk bad about any pro builder, but, you know, once they're done with the project and they sell that house, they're gone. You know, only thing they have connected to the buyer is the warranty. You know, whereas we have a lifetime of stories and bringing those folks back to help spread the mission and, you know, re-energize everyone with their stories.
Have you guys ever partnered with on projects, maybe larger projects, with for-profit developers? Does that happen at all?
Yes, we have, and it's something that we also, you know, recognize that, you know, for us to increase our bandwidth, that we're definitely looking to do. But if we do partner with someone, that company has to have the same mission as ours, and so that's you know, their corporate structure and their corporate mission has to be in alignment with Habitat. And so and when we did partner with a professional builder, it was great. You know, the project got done well. They really came out, and they got other parts of their business to come out and volunteer. So that's awesome. The accounting department came out and volunteered. You know, they had the CEO and all the VPs. They were working where, you know, the administrative staff was the ones leading that day, and so it was really, and it was a really, I think they got a lot out of it, and of course we got a great project out of it.
And Darrell launched a program last year called Builders Blitz, in which he recruited four for-profit developers, most of them I think commercial developers even, to each adopt a Habitat house and build it from the ground up. You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so we did a Builders Blitz. We built 4 houses in 2 weeks, and it was great because we got these 4 great builder developers, and they all were bought in, and it became a competition of like who can build it faster and who can build it better. And, you know,
I think there's an HGTV show that kind of tracks that way too.
There might be. And just to see every day the amount of folks who came out to site, and just for the purpose of building these homes. And then, you know, at lunchtime we would have what we call an HVAC, which we share information about Habitat and our mission, kind of how we did earlier in this. And then also we had the homeowners there.
Nice.
And so the builders are able to meet the homeowners, and for the homeowners to see their houses go up so fast, they were like, oh my God, this is happening. This is really happening, you know? And so, and when we did the dedication, you know, it was great because, you know, I empowered my team that worked on the Blitz to actually do the dedication for the family. So it was great. So it was for them to step out of their usual construction role and to actually have a really one-on-one interaction with the buyer and with the builder. So it turned out really well. And we plan to do another one starting April of 2021, another four house Blitz build with 3 of the 4 builders are coming back. We did it so well, they want to come back. And so it's going to be phenomenal.
All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time here, guys, so I'm going to start wrapping up. But how do you see what you're doing affecting sort of the overall vision for the city itself? Given that the city has a 65, I think, almost population of Latinx and Black communities that are underrepresented in the housing ownership category. And then also, are there certain legislations? Are there programs that are helping what you're doing, and then also maybe even hindering what you're doing, if you want to speak to that a little bit.
I can talk to that in two elements. One is I was on the original team that helped develop the City of Los Angeles sustainability plan,
Wow.
and I worked specifically in the housing piece of that. One of the elements was to retrofit existing homes, to remove landscaping that required a lot of watering and replace it with drought-tolerant landscaping. So we helped pilot that with the City of Los Angeles and did water tolerant, drought-tolerant retrofits. And then the other program I mentioned, which is to do energy retrofits on existing homes. This one's focusing on the Watts area of the City of Los Angeles, and we'll be doing 300 of those homes over the next 3 years. So those are specific elements of the City of Los Angeles sustainability plan where Habitat is feeling that we can have the most impact. And then you bring up a great question, which is what's our broader commitment to the sustainability of families living in Los Angeles, especially Black and Latinx families who have been sorely underrepresented and even discriminated against through housing policies over the years. And right now, the Black homeownership rate is at its lowest point it's been in 20 years, and that's just not acceptable. Habitat, since our beginning 30 years ago, has 91% of the families that we have partnered with here in Los Angeles are families of color. And we believe, we know, because we see it, as Darrell's mentioned, that by providing families with the opportunity at homeownership, it will permanently transform those families. And the way to build assets and build equity in our nation, one of the biggest ways is through homeownership, because over time, you build equity in your house through paying your loans down, and you build equity in your house through appreciation. And you can use that equity to go to college or to, start your own business. And so Habitat's commitment in this space is to create more opportunities for people of color to own a home. And what we'll be lobbying for in the advocacy sense is to have more funds dedicated towards home ownership for families earning below the median income to be able to get down payment assistance to purchase a home. And we know through our experience that if you do it right, less than 0.5% of our families ever default on their mortgage. And so that's through home buyer training and readiness programs, and then providing them an affordable mortgage payment. We will forever transform the sustainability of each family we serve for generations to come.
That's great. I wonder if the events of this year, and some of the social justice initiatives that have come out, and I guess just awareness, social justice awareness that's in the media. Have you seen anything change in the last, 6 to 9 months? Are you part of discussions at the policy level, or with friends or folks in the not-for-profit space? Is this going to change anything, or is it just a moment in the media, in your opinion?
I think what's changed is awareness and sentiment, and now what needs to change is policy and practice. I think there are a number of legislators and community leaders and community members who are not going to let the conversation go away. And so I think it starts with awareness about historical practices that have impacted families of color, and finding ways to remove barriers and increase those home ownership rates. Darrell, would you feel free to add?
Yeah, please.
No, I totally agree. I think the biggest thing I'm seeing is the awareness, the history of redlining and all these practices, racist practices that kept Blacks and Latinx folks from able to purchase homes, especially in Los Angeles. That was eye-opening for me to learn that. And so, and also the fact that, housing is not a want, it's a need. And so for folks to finally realize that, and for us to be actually putting that into practice, I think is one of the changes that we're going to see in the next couple of months.
That's great. Yeah, I'm hopeful as well that there will be some shifts, and that maybe policy and planning can figure out a way to put some new initiatives in place that can kind of directly combat the history of racist planning, for sure. And my last question, kind of a nice segue. You guys do some larger scale projects, and you've got a couple coming up. One that I'm aware of in Long Beach, which I guess brings you full circle from your immediate post-college days. Darrell, do you want to speak to the development that's going down in the Long Beach neighborhood there?
Yeah, so we have a initiative in the Washington neighborhood of Long Beach, neighborhood revitalization, and it has started first with the policy and with the people. So we first were at the school and getting the school built up and getting the families built up, getting them more energized and becoming more involved in their community. And so we have a great neighborhood watch and a neighborhood community group now for Washington neighborhood that our team has put together. Also, we have worked at the school, we've done murals. We had this great program called Safe Passages, where we would help children be able to safely walk to school without having any safety issues getting into school. And so now, to go along with our social aspect, we are now going to be breaking ground on 10 new units within the next month. And that's going to be phenomenal. And then in addition to those 10, we have another 38 coming on board within the next 12 months after that. So we've already previously finished 4 homes in the neighborhood. And so now we're going to add another close to 50 homes in the neighborhood. And that's just new construction. We're also looking at to provide our repair program and our retrofit program into the neighborhood as well. And also we have our educational program going there. It's been going for a couple of years now. So our Pathways to Ownership program. So we're getting folks going to that. And what's great about the Pathways program is not only is it for folks to be able to buy a home from Habitat for one of our projects, but if we find that people might be qualified to buy their first entry-level home in anywhere in Long Beach or in Southern California, we can help partner them with getting a home that might be their first entry-level home. So a lot of people, what we found, or what I've seen throughout my years in affordable housing, is all about information. A lot of people just don't know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people will say, oh, I could never own a house. But then they'll go through this program that we have, our Pathways program, and it's like, oh, I could actually afford that mortgage. And so, it's exciting to see what we have been able to do over the last couple of years. And in this neighborhood, when we first adopted this neighborhood, the life expectancy in this square mile was 7 years less than the life expectancy from a neighborhood just a mile away in Long Beach. And so, for us, that really just shook us and really made us really want to adopt this neighborhood and become a neighborhood revitalization neighborhood.
That's great. We talked about integrated design earlier, and I mean, this is like, you guys are doing integrated community design, really, on all levels. That's fantastic. Erin, I'm going to close with you. What's next, other than the specific projects that Darrell spoke to? What's next for the organization? What are you most excited about? And then if you want to just throw out some, your website at the end. So if anybody wants some more information, or they want to contact you guys, or they want to learn more about being a first-time homeowner, things like that, if you want to tell them where to go for that.
Well, I think one thing that's exciting for us is that we're expanding our work into more communities. We're going to be doing more in the Antelope Valley and San Fernando Valley. And we are expanding our home repair programs. We also have a program we didn't mention, which is our disaster response program. And so we are working with families whose homes were burned in 2017 and 2018 in the wildfires and helping them rebuild. And so we have a commitment that if any families in our area were uninsured or underinsured and they lost their home, that Habitat will help them all along the path until they can move back into their home, build and move back in. And so we're doing a lot of wildfire rebuilding up in the valley right now. But I think what excites me is just growth in the capacity to serve more families. Housing and homeownership is in the state and national conversation now in a way that it hasn't been in the last 10 to 15 years. And so I feel that there is some awareness and momentum building for us to increase the number of homes that number of families we're able to serve over the next several years. As you said, as a resource, our website is HabitatLA.org, and our phone number at the office is 310-323-4663. We also have 3 restores throughout Los Angeles, which are sort of a cross between a thrift store and a home improvement store where all the items are donated. So that's also a way we address the environment. A significant portion of what winds up in our landfills is construction debris and old furniture. And so now we ask people to donate those things, old windows, doors, light fixtures, everything, the kitchen sink, to Habitat.
I saw a Viking range in your
there's some
restore
pretty
on
nice
La Brea,
stuff.
and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I had.
So you could donate, we'll actually pick it up, you get a tax donation, or you could shop. A good portion of the inventory is new. It's donated from wholesalers and retailers that are discontinuing product. Our stores are in Torrance, west of La Brea, on La Brea, in Mid-Wilshire, and in Bellflower, so you could shop and support us as well. And then I was going to throw out one resource that I liked. We were talking about social justice and housing in Los Angeles and how it's been impacted by policy. Just before COVID, the movie came out this year featuring Anthony Mackie and Samuel L. Jackson, called The Banker. And it's a true story about these 2 gentlemen in the 60s who decided that they wanted to build a business through buying real estate and through investing in real estate. And because they were African American, they were denied a lot of those opportunities, but they sort of found someone who would, they found partners who would help them from behind the scenes. And it's very enlightening about housing in Los Angeles. If you get a chance, it's called The Banker.
That's awesome. I've not seen it, and I would love to. And I appreciate that's my son cooing in the background there. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's very excited. We'll watch it together. Thank you guys so much. Truly, it's been a pleasure. And I'm glad to have this conversation about housing and affordability, and we mix some sustainability in there as well. But you guys are doing great work, and I really look up to your organization. I think you're definitely a beacon in the development space, and I think a lot of folks can learn from what you're doing and from your approach as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for.
When we're all able to, you got to come out and swing a hammer with us.
Yes, of course. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, right? About how this is all, the work from home situation has changed your organization's strategy and stuff, but no time for that today, I suppose. But best to you guys, and thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Ian.
Appreciate it.